Hey everyone, I'm Jackson with Edible Garden Growers, and on this episode we're going to be talking all about mason bees, in particular the blue orchard bee, also nicknamed the bob. It's a fun little one. They look like little house flies, honestly. It's kind of hard to tell the difference unless you're really knowing what you're looking at, but they have a blue shimmer to them, which is like the distinguishing characteristic about them. They're solitary bees, they live on their own. They don't get together in hives like honeybees do. They're native to the area and they're substantially more efficient at pollinating than honeybees are. Unfortunately, they're only an early season bee, so they're not really going to be effective throughout your whole season, but they do a great job pollinating trees and all that stuff that starts flowering before your typical vegetable crops. So it's not the most useful for most of our garden per se, but like these guys are going absolutely crazy with their flowers right now and they love these. So let's get to it. We just got our mason bee friends out, little blue orchard bees, and probably waited a little too long because this guy has already crawled out of his cocoon while still in the fridge. So we're going to get their hive set up so they can start pollinating the garden and having some fun. So we've got our little bee nursery here. We put all these cocoons inside of here. We're going to put this next to the house. They hatch, get released out of here, and then they move into their home if they like it. Alright, so the mason bees are cavity dwelling bees. They're solo, they do not form colonies. So what that means is they like things like this, little holes that are about the size of their body that they crawl in. What they'll do is they'll lay their young in there, they're going to fill it with pollen, and then they're going to pack the hole with clay, basically mud. And so once they're in there, they're going to then pack another one, pack more clay with more food in there, and it's just going to go until they fill the whole hole. Okay, I don't know, that's a tongue twister for me. And then you'll see like a little mud pack here at the end. They do all their stuff during the early spring. They're not summertime bees, so they're going to spend their summertime just developing in their cocoon, and then come fall, like October-ish or even before that, you're going to want to then take them inside, take this thing apart, and you're going to want to take out all the bees. If you had an unfortunate year like we've had a few times, you'll find like parasites and just things going after them, little larvae that are going after the bees. You're going to want to clear all that stuff out of there. Make sure you're not saving any of the bad stuff, and then you're going to want to store it in some sort of container for the winter time in your fridge. And I'll go over that a little bit later. So this is what they like to live in, and I'm going to show you where this actually lives. Alright, so we got their house up there. Kind of hard to see with the bright light. It's this guy right here. Oop, there's my balance. You want something on the back if possible, just to reduce things from getting in the back. This is going to slide right in there like that. Perfect fit. Or not, I guess not perfect, it's a little loose, but perfect for the situation. And so I got this little cover on there because during the heat of the summer they can get real hot and you don't want your bees just sitting in direct sun. I've got this at a slight slant so they get some decent morning sun, but by the afternoon they're getting some decent shade. And then I have got the little nursery for the bees chilling right here. The males will hatch first and then the females will follow. And then they'll get busy and do their thing. And yeah. So your mason bees are going to want some clay. And granted, they can find clay just about anywhere. If they don't have a practical, easy, close-by spot to get it, they're going to want to move someplace that makes it easier for them to do so. So this is just some clay. And then this is a fun little device from someone that I got on Etsy. I can't remember the name, but I'll include it somewhere on the screen. And yeah, so the way this works is you can't really see it, but there's a bunch of holes on the top here. Then there's little sponges that go down to the bottom. Fill this hole with water, and then the sponges will wick the water up into the mud and just constantly keep this moist. If you want to do a little bit simpler, you can just get like a yogurt container or whatever works that will work to hold it. But then you're going to have to be reapplying water to it, especially on the hot days. It gets kind of hard when it dries out to rehydrate it. So this is something that I like that keeps it real simple and easy, and I don't have to do much maintenance. So you're going to want this as close as you can get it to your bees' home, so that way they're not having to go very far. So since our bee home is right there, we're going to make it real simple and easy for them. I'm just going to put it right down here in the bottom of the stairwell. The reason I'm not putting it up here is it's just going to get more light. It's going to dry out quite a bit quicker. If I put it down here, it'll stay out of the sun most of the day, stay nice and wet and cool, and bees should be able to find it no problem. So when it comes to storage time at the end of the season, you're getting ready to pack your bees all up, you can just use a yogurt container, cut some slits in it so that way there's some air exchange, and then you're going to want to put the yogurt container that has the bees into it into a plastic bag. And in that plastic bag, but not in the yogurt container or whatever container you've got, you're going to want a wet rag. Not soaking wet, you don't want it super wet, but just a little bit wet. It helps keep the bees moist because the fridge can get pretty dry and you don't want to dry out your bee friends. It requires more maintenance than I would like to deal with, constantly checking that. So from the same person that I got that mason bee, or like the bee, or like the mud container from, I also picked this guy up from. This makes it real easy to work with. So this top layer filled with a bunch of holes, you just stick the bees in this area to chill. This lower area, you've got a sponge. Get this guy wet, just let it sit in the bottom. It's gonna wick moisture up into your top layer here, and then just a little lid. None of this is airtight. There's still slits around the bottom because you want some air exchange taking place. Then you're gonna want just like one of these guys, little humidity gauge. So right now it's like 36% relative humidity outside. But you're gonna want that like closer to 100 when you got it inside. This thing I've been a pretty big fan of. It just makes things real simple and minimal maintenance. Alright, well hopefully you learned something from this video. I'm by no means a bee expert. I'm not trying to make that claim, but I've learned a couple things working with these guys, and I just have a blast with them. I love seeing them in the garden, and hopefully you have fun with them too. If you're looking for them, you can hopefully reach out to a local nursery and see if they've got them. I'm in Portland, and a handful of the ones that are around here do. I've seen them at like Portland Nursery, One Green World, and I'm sure there are other places. I've seen them downtown as well at a nursery down there. So hopefully if you're not in the Portland area, you've got a source for these guys. Otherwise, I wouldn't be surprised if you could have them shipped to your door. If they do well, they will go crazy and you'll have more than you'll know what to do with the next year. So hopefully you enjoyed this episode. I'm Jackson. Have a good one.